Let us all stand as we receive the President of the Republic of Zimbabwe, His Excellency President Dr. Emmerson Dambudzo Mnangagwa. Let us remain standing as we sing the national anthem, the SADC anthem, and the African Union anthem.
Integration towards unity and harmony. Cradle of humanity, cradle of our ancestors. Let us praise with joy the realization of our hopes and raise the banner of solidarity. So
Your Excellency, we can take our seats. Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Zimbabwe, Commander-in-Chief of the Zimbabwe Defense Forces, Comrade Dr. Emmerson Dambudzo Mnangagwa. We would like to welcome you, Your Excellency, to the official opening ceremony of the 18th Roof Forum Annual General Meeting taking place here at the Harare International Conference Center. We want to thank you, Your Excellency, for finding time in your extremely busy schedule to come and be with us as we celebrate another milestone in the life of the Regional University Forum for Agricultural Research in Africa. Your Excellency, allow me to start by recognizing a number of dignitaries and officials who are here with us before we get on with our program. I would like to recognize the Vice President of the Republic of Zimbabwe, Honorable Comrade Dr. C.G.N. Chiwenga. He is our Vice President and also the Minister of Health and Child Care. I would like to also recognize the presence of the Honorable Minister of Higher and Tertiary Education, Innovation, Science and Technology Development, Honorable Professor Dr. Amon Murwira. We recognize other ministers who are here present from Zimbabwe, the ministers of education and ministers of agriculture from the Roof Forum countries who are here with us. We recognize you. We have ministers from Botswana, Democratic Republic of Congo, Malawi, Uganda, South Sudan, Angola, Zimbabwe, and a number of other dignitaries who are representing ministers. During our sessions, we have also had ministers who were online who joined into this particular event. I recognize also the Deputy Minister of Higher and Tertiary Education, Innovation, Science and Technology Development, Honorable Raymond Machingura, the Executive Secretary of Roof Forum, Professor Adipala Ekwamo, the FAO Assistant Director General and Regional Representative for Africa, His Excellency Professor Abebe Haile Gabriel, the Permanent Secretary for Provincial Affairs and Devolution, Harare Metropolitan Province, Mr. Tafadzwa Muguti, other senior government officials who are here, Deputy Chief Secretaries and Secretaries. Professor Paul Mapfumo, the chairman of the 8 local hosting vice chancellors, and he's vice chancellor of the University of Zimbabwe, but he also chairs the committee of 8 vice chancellors who are hosting this occasion. The board chairman of Roof Forum, Professor Teresa Akeji, the incoming executive secretary of Roof Forum, Dr. Patrick Okori, vice chancellors, rectors, presidents of universities who are here with us, the CEO of Zimche, who is here with us, Professor Kuzvinetsa Dzvimbo, development partners who are here with us, deans of faculties, and other distinguished guests who are here with us. young entrepreneurs, comrades and friends, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen, we want to say to all of you, we welcome you. Thank you for finding time to be here with us as we begin the official opening process. Without wasting any time, allow me, Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, to invite the Secretary for Provincial Affairs and Devolution, Mr. Tafazo Mguti, to welcome us to the Harare province. Thank you very much, Mr. Mguti.
Thank you very much, colleague secretary, the director of ceremonies, Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Zimbabwe, who's also the Commander-in-Chief of the Zimbabwe Defense Forces and Chancellor of all state universities, Dr. Emmerson Mnangagwa, the Honorable Vice President and the Minister of Health and Child Care, General Retired Dr. C.G.D. Chiwenga, the Honorable Minister of Higher and Tertiary Education, Innovation, Science and Technology Development, Honorable Professor Dr. Amon Murwira. Let me also take this opportunity to recognize all honorable ministers from Zimbabwe and the Roof Forum countries already mentioned. Let me also acknowledge the Deputy Minister, Honorable Remo Machingura, and all other Deputy Ministers and other representatives who might be here. The Permanent Secretary of Higher and Tertiary Education, Innovation, Science and Technology Development, Professor Tagwira, the Executive Secretariat for Roof Forum, and the chairman of the host committee, Professor Mafumo. Ladies and gentlemen, Your Excellency, it gives me great pleasure and an honor to welcome you all, Your Excellency, and all our distinguished guests to Harare Metropolitan Province. As a province, we are elated to be the host province of this very important international event. The hosting of this event, Your Excellency, has further cemented our growing reputation as a reputable tourism and investment destination, and now a place where most forums can be held within the region. Your Excellency, as you officially open this annual general meeting, I wish to extend a hearty congratulations to these men and women behind this 18th Roof Forum annual general meeting, which has proven to be a success. This includes our Vice Chancellors of the 8 hosting institutions and their respective management teams for putting together this momentous event. This meeting, Your Excellency, brings to effect the actual results of development goals of Agenda 2063, to which we as Zimbabwe are proud to have domesticated through your very own Vision 2030, further articulated through NDS-1, which is the National Development Strategy 1 for Zimbabwe, and other important socio-economic development policies for national development purposes. Your Excellency, allow me this opportunity to enlighten our distinguished guests with a few facts about our province, as we house the capital city of Zimbabwe being Harare and 3 other satellite cities and towns. Your Excellency, as well as contributing the vast majority of our national GDP. Your Excellency, as the pulse of the nation, we are a host to central government and all other multinational corporations and development partners. We are proud as a province to be hosting this event because we have 8 universities, 5 of them being state and 3 being privately owned. Apart from that, we have 86 private schools and 321 pupils. Your Excellency, I must add most humbly that in line with your inspired vision of devolving and decentralizing central government to subnational levels, we are slowly empowering every province, district, and local authorities. It is my hope, Your Excellency, that this forum and the engagements that have taken place will translate down to subnational level. I'm therefore very excited, ladies and gentlemen, that the Regional Universities Forum for Capacity Building in Agriculture, RU Forum, which we have since learned was established by our sons and daughters in 2004, and a consortium of over 160 African universities operating across 38 countries in Africa, continues to be the shining light for agrarian reform within the African continent. Your Excellency, the prospects that this event have brought to Zimbabwe as a whole are endless, and as a province, through devolution, we will certainly support all the efforts of the universities in our province, and we do urge all other provinces within Zimbabwe to do so. I pray that you, delegates who are at this event, have built bridges as fellow Africans, particularly through partnerships and collaborations that will no doubt lead to the increased human capital development for agricultural disciplines and ultimately increased agricultural yields and outputs. Your Excellency, let me conclude by saying that with such a robust and aggressive forum and the interventions by Africans for Africa, surely we will achieve Agenda 2063 as one people and as one continent. To quote you, Your Excellency, Africa will leave no one and no place behind. With these few remarks, I warmly welcome you, Your Excellency, and all our distinguished guests to Harare Metropolitan Province and Zimbabwe at large. God bless you. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Secretary Mguti, for those words of welcome to your home, Harare. Ladies and gentlemen, at this particular stage, it is my honor and privilege to invite to the podium the Executive Secretary of RU Forum, the man who has been leading RU Forum since 2004, and who we can credit with a lot of what has happened to make this such a big and favorite organizations for many universities across the African continent to join, Professor Adipala Ekwamu.
Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Zimbabwe, Comrade Dr. Emmerson Mnangagwa, the Vice President of the Republic of Zimbabwe and Minister of Health and Child Care, Honorable Ministers present here, Permanent Secretaries, Forum Vice Chancellors and Board Members, Development Partners, farmers, young African innovators and entrepreneurs, students, ladies and gentlemen. Today is a wonderful day in the history of the Regional Universities Forum for Capacity Building in Agriculture Forum, because we are celebrating 4 key milestones. First, birth, growth, and maturity of Forum from a humble idea in 2004 among 10 universities in 5 countries, that is Malawi, Zimbabwe, Uganda, Mozambique, and Kenya, to now 163 universities across 40 African countries in all the 5 regions of the African continent. Today, we are appreciating the humble steps the network has taken towards transforming its universities, growing its partnership within among themselves, and importantly, delivering science solutions for development, with the students here present today being at the center of that process. Third, today we celebrate convergence of policy and government with academia. We've expanded intentional and deepened collaboration and partnership in delivering strategic intervention for Africa's development. Lastly, but not least, institutional transition in leadership, marking a new era in which Forum and Forum alumni will be championing the next phase of institutional growth, deepening of programs, and sustainability of the institutions towards its silver jubilee and beyond. Your Excellency, Forum is therefore an institution that has grown out of determination of African universities to deliver different value propositions to their stakeholders, representatives of sprouting hair, often nudged by new challenges, only to regrow to a bountiful state. Your Excellency, we have gone through phases, but Africa, our continent, has been our inspiration. Your Excellency, as Forum continues to mature and take a central coordination role of higher agricultural education, keeping this rising demand for Forum role, as well as ensuring that the current successes that the network has achieved over the last 18 years will require, among others, 1, sustained policy engagement and commitment for collaboration and partnership with universities. 2, increase intentional and tailored reliance of government on its local and regional universities within Africa to provide science solutions and evidence to guide and implement development. African governments and countries spend on salaries, but they do not task the university to deliver on their country's development priorities. And instead, they opt to hire external consultants to provide solutions their scientists in country could solve. Today, we also have reflection on progress so far made on development of transformative education that enables us to cherish local innovations with supportive innovative innovation systems that connects and facilitates evolution of local industry growth to enable expanded employment opportunity for its young people, and 3, that supports talent development and provides opportunity for talent development. 4th, appreciation of the role that university do secure the countries, can secure the country's development progress, as demonstrated by the lives saved from COVID-19, because our universities responded in a time amid these difficulties. Universities were able to save the country from importation of goods and services, such as the support to national import substitution agenda. Indeed, we are told university in Zimbabwe, response to the COVID-19 pandemic, saved this country over $300 million US dollars. We thank them and appreciate that. But that response would not have been possible without Your Excellency's leadership and support to the universities. They responded to Your Excellency's call for universities to champion technology development and industrialization, as exemplified but what several universities in Zimbabwe are doing, and these are clear testimonies that we've committed and sustained policy support. Universities in Africa can and should be supported to champion process of society transformation in our countries. Your Excellency, in their coming to Zimbabwe in therefore coming to Zimbabwe here, where we'll be handing over the office of the secretary to a young, dynamic, and forward-looking young person, I have come to do three things. First, the initial ideas of conceptualization of Forum, the predecessor program that to what is today Forum, was at the University of Zimbabwe in partnership with other actors. I therefore thank Zimbabwe for giving birth to Forum. I've also come to give my account to the founders of Forum, the Forum Network, and African governments and people, as I was directed by African ministers in 2005 in Kampala, Uganda. As I mentioned, here in Zimbabwe, on Friday, I will be handing over the office of the executive secretary to a new executive secretary. Your Excellency, I'm grateful for the support your government, the member university of Forum, and the people of Zimbabwe are provided to the network during this 18th annual general meeting. We are most grateful, Your Excellency. Your Excellency, during our meeting in Zimbabwe, your government hosted a roundtable meeting of ministers of agriculture, higher education, science, technology, and innovation as part of the 18th Forum Annual General Meeting. The meeting was held on Wednesday, 14th December, today, here in Harare International Conference Center. The roundtable ministerial meeting builds on previous African ministerial meetings held in 2016 in Cape Town, 2017 in Lilongwe, 2018 in Nairobi, 2019 in Cape Coast, and 29 in Cotonou, Benin, which call for support to 5 continental initiatives to strengthen higher agricultural education and transformation on the continent. The roundtable recognized that agriculture will drive the economic development of the continent and that universities have a major role to play in conducting and deploying science, technology, and innovations. The roundtable made the following key recommendations. 1, urge the member states and government to endorse the Forum Charter through their respective procedures. 2, support the strengthening of TVET systems and a broader education value chain in Africa. 3, increase support for graduate, doctoral, and postdoctoral training in Africa. 4, intensify the efforts to strengthen staff capacities in university and Africa. Request the World Bank to provide additional funding to the African Centers of Excellence, special funding for agriculture higher education. 2, urge the African Union Commission and member states to engage Forum as a technical partner in the design in the implementation of higher agricultural education, science, technology, and innovations on the continent. 3, urge the African governments in the Committee of 10 African heads of states and governments championing education, science, technology, and innovation in Africa, the C10, to follow up on the need for conducting regional meetings and providing needed guidance on the needed actions in the continent. 4, call upon the member states and development partners to provide support to African universities and research institutions for building their capacity to respond to the increasing challenges posed by climate change and transboundary animal and human health pandemics and other natural disasters. The roundtable also urged the Forum member universities to advance the dignity of Africans by developing education systems that answer to the people's needs and prepare them to take charge of their destiny. 2, that the African universities should support each other in terms of capacity development for agriculture, science, technology, and innovation transformation. Your Excellencies, this priority guidance will shape what the network does moving forward. As I conclude, Your Excellency, I believe I've managed to keep my comment to the board and not shamed Africa. And here in Zimbabwe, it is gratifying to see how your government has engaged the Zimbabwe universities to champion development in the country. I thank you for this exemplary leadership, and I call upon to all African governments to work with African universities to develop science solutions for our continent. I call upon African governments to strengthen the education value chain while promoting inclusivity. And we must do everything possible to strengthen Africa's agri-food system to ensure we are able to feed our people and to support our economic development. I therefore thank Your Excellency and all present most sincerely for accepting to grace this occasion. It is indeed a joyous and a wonderful occasion. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Adipala. Can we give him another round of applause? We are proud of you. We are proud of the work that you have done. Thank you very much. At this particular stage, we are going to have a 10-minute documentary, if it is ready.
Ce soir, nous avons l'heureux plaisir de lancer officiellement la triennale de notre réseau commun RUFORUM.
Today, we meet at a consequential time in Africa's evolution. Across the spectrum of societal leadership, public, business, academia, civil society, we need to recognize the crucial importance of science, technology, and innovation, and commit ourselves to the cause of excellence in science, technology, for sustainable development. We are literally in a race against time.
In Africa, where the youth population comprises more than 60%, efforts should be made to prepare them for the challenges and full participation in the national and global economy.
You are the experts in this field, and we are waiting your recommendations and action plans that will come up with from this conference, especially after the COP26 conference.
Bienvenue à vous, vive le partenariat au développement de nos États, vive le forum, vive nos universités de l'OMS.
In spite of COVID-19 challenges, the first RUFORUM Triennial Conference, the 16th Annual General Meeting, and the 7th African Higher Education Week brought together policymakers, including ministers and technical experts, higher education leaders in Africa, development partners, private sector leaders, researchers, innovators, students, and farmer organizations, among others. Over 1,000 delegates from across the world attended the blended event.
This event builds on various convenings that the forum has had, virtually and face-to-face, including the just concluded United Nations Food System Summit, where a meeting of African heads of states to discuss how African governments can work together with universities to support agricultural transformation.
The Roof Forum has demonstrated investments in human capacity development, in training our young people into research, building new platforms for knowledge exchange, both old and young, in different parts of the continent, assisting our governments to formulate policies. But having said all that, I think it's the time for us to take stock and start asking ourselves the hard questions. How have we fared with our commitments? And so I call it a time of action.
With the theme of operationalizing higher education for innovation, industrialization, inclusion, and sustainable economic development in Africa, a call for action. The meeting was the next step in Roof Forum's journey to create a more prosperous Africa.
It is basically a call to action. Both the private sector and the policymakers are part of this dialogue, in addition to us, our own individual universities and our global partners.
Many of the Roof Forum family had not traveled since the start of the pandemic, and the emotion and relief of the face-to-face reunion was palpable.
Really to be able to connect with everybody, to talk, because you can't take that away, the face-to-face, the physical, talking to somebody and being able to just connect is very important, yes.
The event was also the first of its kind in a French-speaking country.
We are in West Africa, we are in East Africa, we are in Central Africa, we are in Southern Africa. So we have covered the entire African region.
Putting them together, put them together to tick as a whole for the whole continent.
Well, definitely this is the Africa that we're looking for. The Africa where we come together.
There was a strong sense of female leadership at the meeting.
المرأة لو حصل لها تقوية للمقدرات هي اللي بتقدر تقود التنمية في أي مكان. فدي الحاجة اللي بنتمناها في أفريقيا.
The new board chair was elected.
Cameroon is in Central Africa. I would like to see more participation from universities in Central Africa.
Entrepreneurship and private sector linkages as tools for young Africans' participation in development were a major focus.
And issues of industrialization, commercialization, entrepreneurship, innovation are all very critical. And I think what we're being challenged to do now is say, yes, we've offered programs, we've offered degrees, but what can make a difference is action. And it's about the people we serve. It's about those rural farmers, rural families that will never go to a conference. After the discussions this week, let's go back and work.
The digital revolution took center stage. E-learning deliberations emphasized the challenges and opportunities presented by the move to online education. Roof Forum's e-learning platform was launched.
Roof Forum is going to lead the African integration in education. The time has come to lead the delivery of programs across Africa by tapping into the expertise they have built.
I do appreciate that the Roof Forum Triennial Conference brings together eminent persons and relevant stakeholders that have the capacity to drive Africa to the Africa we want by 2063.
L'Afrique que je veux est une Afrique unique, une Afrique solidaire, une Afrique de développement, une Afrique qui cherche ses solutions en son sein.
The mission and the vision of Roof Forum is actually the future of Africa. It's priceless, and we're very grateful for that.
At this particular stage, I will call upon Professor Abebe Haile Gabriel, the FAO Assistant Director General and Regional Representative for Africa, to come to the podium.
Thank you, Professor, Master of Ceremonies. Excellency Dr. Emmerson Mnangagwa, President of the Republic of Zimbabwe, Excellency Vice President of the Republic of Zimbabwe, honorable ministers, vice chancellors, and presidents of universities, distinguished participants, all protocol observed. Good evening to you all. On behalf of Dr. Chiu Dongyu, the Director General of the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, FAO, I wish to congratulate the government of Zimbabwe for hosting this wonderful event in a beautiful city of Harare, Zimbabwe. And I want to thank the organizers for associating FAO with this important event. At every available opportunity, we must emphasize the significance of country ownership and leadership as key drivers of positive change and transformation, particularly political will, commitment, and institutional effectiveness. I want to congratulate the government of Zimbabwe, His Excellency the President, for demonstrating such a commitment and leadership. We witnessed it in different aspects. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we have various maps of the world. Let me mention a couple of these. The World Poverty Map and the World Hunger Map, which display the status and distribution of poverty and hunger among regions and countries of the world, respectively. These two maps largely correlate and overlap, and Africa features prominently in both, unfortunately. There is a third world map, which is also very relevant to the theme of this meeting, a map of agricultural employment. When we superimpose this particular map on the other two that I had mentioned earlier, again we see strong correlations. Poverty and hunger are prevalent in rural areas where the majority of people are employed in agriculture. Let's look a bit closer at this. About 55% of the labor force is in rural and agriculture sectors in Africa and produces between 20 and 30% of the national product, which means the remaining 70 to 80% of the national product is produced by 45% of the labor force residing in non-agricultural sectors. A crude computation would reveal that labor productivity in agriculture could be 4 times lower on average compared to non-agricultural sectors. By the way, this does not necessarily imply that the productivity of non-agricultural sectors is high. It only suggests that labor productivity in agriculture is very low. Africa's average cereal productivity is about a third of what the average is for developing countries. Yes, you heard me correctly. The average for developing countries, not for the world average, and obviously not the developed countries' average. Low labor productivity results in low incomes, which translates into widespread poverty, because agriculture is the main source of livelihoods and incomes for the majority of the people, and poor people inherently suffer from hunger and malnutrition. So there should be no surprise that the World Poverty Map and the World Hunger Map overlap with the World Agricultural Employment Map on the African continent. It's significant to note that much of the rest of the world moved towards transforming production and productivity a long time ago and at an accelerated pace, propelled by the power of science, innovation, and investment. In Africa, on the other hand, we are stuck with the animal-drawn plow and the handheld hoes and machetes. No wonder productivity cannot compete. With these basic tools, Africa cultivates an area of land that is double that of the European Union. Yet, many African countries are dependent on food imports. This huge and rising dependency, which in 2022 was estimated at about $56 billion US, has exposed livelihoods and economies to extreme levels of vulnerability to global economic, climate, and security shocks. This must change. It's encouraging to witness that countries such as Zimbabwe are standing up to the challenge with the will and determination to say enough is enough on such a perilous dependency and the associated vulnerability, with the conviction that we can do more because we have what it takes. Collectively, we must support this effort and facilitate opportunities for knowledge and experience sharing, scaling up among African countries. FAO provides technical platforms to facilitate such mutual sharing of knowledge and experiences, including through South-South and triangular cooperation. The agenda of agriculture and food systems transformation is too big, too strategic, and too comprehensive to be left to the fortunes of any particular sector or actor alone. It requires multi-sectoral and multi-stakeholders engagement and collaboration. Agri-food systems are inherently unifying and synergizing. Agri-food systems is a trade agenda, an industrialization agenda, an energy and infrastructure agenda, a science, innovation, and technology agenda, a gender equality, health, and environmental agenda. Therefore, it is important that the agri-food system agenda is co-owned, not just in terms of provision of support, but by making it at the center of the work we all do. We cannot achieve this without breaking away from business as usual. There are at least 3 steps that come to mind in this respect. The first is to be bold and provide unwavering support that the transformation effort requires, and equally to avoid any doubts on the imperatives of agri-food systems transformation. The second is to think and act big, because piecemeal and incremental approaches have not provided desirable and lasting solutions. Our efforts must match, if not exceed, the challenges we face. The third is to ensure that agri-food system transformations bring value to efforts and investments. There should be incentives to motivate more effort and investment across the many sectors that it touches. Most importantly, agri-food systems should bring value to the farmers, the producers, the consumers, making them at the center of the transformation agenda along the whole value chain. In this respect, FAO commends the government of Zimbabwe and other governments for putting in place a food system governance structure for better coordination of multi-sectoral efforts towards a holistic food systems transformation. We look forward to successful operationalization. FAO supports transformation to a more efficient, inclusive, resilient, and sustainable agri-food systems for better production, better nutrition, a better environment, and a better life, leaving no one behind. Science, innovation, and investment must drive this process. There is a huge gap between existing science, technology, and innovation, including digital innovation, and their accessibility and uptake at local level, particularly in Africa and among small-scale producers. You may have come across a recent report published in the Nature Sustainability Journal about the development of high-yielding perennial rice, a high-productivity system driven by science, innovation, and investment. The second is low-productivity system burdened by rudimentary and archaic methods. The concept, the products originating from both compete for the same markets, locally and globally. Imported wheat, rice, fruit, or chicken is sold cheaper in local markets than the locally produced products, eventually displacing the latter. The difference lies in the designs. It dooms our agri-food systems to failure. We need to change that design. I just want to say one last word before closing, because this is a science, innovation, and investment meeting, and the role of the universities. Universities play very important roles within these agri-food systems, but there are some concerns with respect to the conditions that are holding African universities from playing these crucial roles. The first is externally imposed functional disengagement from core development agenda, which results from segmentation and fragmentation of the agenda along sectors. And the second is self-imposed functional disengagement due to inadequate intentional proactiveness. We want universities to be proactive, to be purposeful in their engagement. They have a lot to play in terms of this transformation. I thank you, Your Excellency. Thank you for your
Thank you very much, Professor Abebe. Let's give him another round of applause. We are slightly behind our time. At this particular stage, allow me to call to the stage the Honorable Minister of Agriculture and Food Security of the Republic of South Sudan, Honorable Josephine Lagu Yanga.
Your Excellency, Dr. Emmerson Mnangagwa, President of the Republic of Zimbabwe. General Dr. Chiwenga, the Vice President of the Republic of Zimbabwe and Minister of Health and Child Care. Honorable Ministers, Vice Chancellors, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, all protocol observed. I bring you greetings from His Excellency, President General Salva Kiir Mayardit, and the people of the Republic of South Sudan. It's my honor and pleasure to stand before you today in this important occasion as we officially open the 18th RUForum Annual General Meeting. Your Excellency, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, allow me to start by expressing our appreciation to the government of Zimbabwe for hosting the 18th RUForum Annual General Meeting and for the wonderful hospitality accorded to us. You will all agree with me that this RUForum platform provides us with a unique opportunity to work together, share our knowledge and experiences from different parts of Africa and beyond. Indeed, a convening like this fosters regional integration and mutual collaboration within Africa and across the globe. Your Excellency, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the theme of this convening, Strengthening Africa's Agri-Food Systems in the Post-COVID-19 Era, Opportunities and Challenges, speaks to the big challenge of food and nutrition security that continues to undermine our efforts to achieve the UN Sustainable Development Goals, as well as our own Africa Agenda 2063. You will agree with me that food and nutrition security must remain top priority for bringing shared prosperity and development to our beloved continent. This requires that we put science, technology, and innovation at the forefront to transform our agri-food systems. Your Excellency, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, organizations like RUFORUM play a catalytic role in fostering research and innovation with a clear alignment to African continental development frameworks, notably CAADP and TISA 2024. Our governments urgently need to galvanize support for higher education, science and technology, and innovation to generate products and processes that contribute to sustainable development of our continent. We ministers from Angola, Benin, Botswana, DRC, Congo, Liberia, Malawi, South Sudan, Uganda, and our counterparts from Zimbabwe met both on Tuesday, 13th, and today, 14th of December, 2022, and have pledged our commitment to strengthening human capital development to meet the aspirations of the Africa Agenda 2063. We agreed as member states to work together and with our partners to strengthen Africa's agri-food systems, to increase investment, to accelerate human capital development and research capacity in the continent, to collaborate to build capacity to respond to emerging challenges posed by climate change and increasing incidences of transboundary animal and human diseases. To do this, we need to partner to strengthen graduate and postgraduate training. We welcome the collaborative efforts by African universities through the graduate teaching program to strengthen staff capacities in African universities. As ministers, we committed to support this initiative, especially since it allows mobility of students and scholars and training of students in Africa. Your Excellency, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we have all witnessed what a Pan-African organization like RUFORUM can deliver for our continent. We as governments need to embrace the efforts of RUFORUM and similar networks in Africa. Let us as African government provide the needed support to RUFORUM and similar networks in Africa. It's also my hope that deliberations in this convening will shape the foundations of our shared prosperity and humanity. I thank you all.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, for those words. At this particular stage in our program, I will be calling to the stage the Honorable Minister of Higher and Tertiary Education, Innovation, Science and Technology Development, Honorable Professor Dr. Amon Mruwira, to come and do two things. Number one, he will make remarks, and then after that, he will invite the Vice President of the Republic of Zimbabwe and Minister of Health and Child Care, General Retired Dr. CGDN Chiwenga, to come and introduce our guest of honor, His Excellency, the President. Thank you.
Your Excellency, President of the Republic of Zimbabwe, Commander-in-Chief of the Zimbabwe Defense Forces, and our Chancellor of all state universities, the Honorable Vice President, Comrade Dr. CGDN Chiwenga, Your Excellency, I want to say all ministers here present, and may you allow me to say all protocols observed. Your Excellency, I just want to say in very few words what I think you have taught us in our education revolution. It is the story of a dead horse. Your Excellency, education must save us from poverty. It must not deliver us to poverty. It must deliver us from poverty. It's like deliver us from evil, deliver us from poverty. But yet our education was leading us to poverty, and then the question is why? What does the dead horse thing say? You taught us that when you see that your horse is dead, the best strategy is to dismount. Get off the horse. But Your Excellency, the tragedy which we have been having is people who then form committees on how to ride a dead horse. And they would even go to form international groups on what to do about the dead horse. Some people say, harness them 4 or 5, they will maybe carry you. And government can actually invite external consultants on how to ride, to teach the government how to ride a dead horse. But a dead horse is dead. It means the best strategy is just to get off the dead horse and walk if you have good feet. So, by doing an education system which was called Education 3.0, which was teaching us how to be eloquent but hungry, you moved us to Education 5.0, which delivers goods and services to the people that send us to school. Goods and services that meet the needs of our people. Because the needs of our people are at the center. If we go to school, we want to provide our people with food. We want to provide our people with water. We want to provide our people with shelter. We want to provide our people with good places to sleep. We want to provide our people with connection. But then, if we have an education system which ignores human needs, then we don't know what education is there for. So you just said, Education 3.0 is a dead horse. Please dismount. Go to Education 5.0, which has got innovation and industrialization so that we can provide the food for our people. I think, Your Excellency, your lesson was heard by us, and we believe it was heard by Africa. Your Excellency, it was on the 9th of January 2018 that you said, I want an education system that produces goods and services. That was a profound statement. From there, we had to devise methods to make sure that that objective was met. And that's the beginning of heritage-based education 5.0 that brings innovation and industrialization. In other words, are we having university? We are having many universities in Africa, Your Excellency, but we are having very few African universities. And you taught us that you cannot fight poverty by hurling insults at it like a dog to say, hey, posse, out, out, out. No, poverty will not get out. You really have to design systems to fight poverty. Heritage-based education 5.0 is that method that you taught us to fight poverty. In other words, in terms of industrialization, it is a very simple diagram that you taught us from what our people need. We will derive our syllabus. Our science and technology and innovation should derive from what our people need. And our syllabus shall deliver an industry which shall provide goods and services to our people. And our trump card is our heritage. We shall start using water in Africa. Today, Your Excellency, just to conclude, when we were discussing with ministers, we said, Africa, sometimes we are very proud of saying we are Anglophone, we are Francophone, we are Lusophone, we are not phone anything, we are Africans. It therefore means every question that we must answer is an African question. What we need is Africa. We are not phone anything. No Lusophone, Anglophone, Francophone. There is no Francophone here. We are Africa. So from Heritage-Based Education 5.0, this is basically what you taught us. I hope I have been able to summarize what you taught us. This is what we have been discussing this week. I thank you, Your Excellency. At this moment, Your Excellency, allow me to invite our Honorable Vice President of the Republic, Comrade General Dr. Constantino Chiwenga, to introduce our guest of honor. I thank you, Your Excellency.
Director of Ceremonies, the Minister of Higher and Tertiary Education, Innovation, Science and Technology Development, Professor Dr. Amon Murgira, other honorable ministers here present, Permanent Secretary for Higher and Tertiary Education, Innovation, Science and Technology Development, Professor Fanuel Tagwira, and other permanent secretaries. Board Chairperson of Reforum, Professor Teresa Kuo Akeje, Executive Secretary of Reforum, Professor Dipara Ekwamu, Vice Chancellors, Rectors, and Presidents of universities here present, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good evening to you all. It is my most singular honor to stand before you today and to introduce to you a leader and visionary whom I hold in very high esteem. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, this is the man who, since his accession into office in November 2017, has led the people of Zimbabwe through a notable socio-economic transformation, whose work have begun to bear fruit. He is a man on a mission with a very clear vision of a prosperous Zimbabwe. He has clearly articulated the National Vision 2030 to attain an empowered upper middle income economy by 2030, leaving no one and no place behind. He has put in place transparent and efficient vehicles to see this vision through in the form of the government blueprint, the National Development Strategy 1, and other key development tools. The man I am introducing to you today, this evening, has led the re-engineering of all education curricula towards a heritage-based education 5.0 philosophy. That places emphasis on a pragmatic approach to learning, which is both skills and competence-based, where knowledge acquired should translate into goods and services for the good of the people and national development. In sync with the aspirations of our guest of honor, higher education institutions have taken up the mantra, and they are leading national development, guided by the Ministry of Higher and Tertiary Education, Innovation, Science and Technology Development. Distinguished guests, we witnessed a mindset shift in our Zimbabwean universities when the security and health of the state were threatened by the devastating COVID-19 pandemic. Universities immediately responded to the call by His Excellency the President to produce critically needed personal protective equipment to aid in the fight against COVID-19. This was done duly and diligently, with a net result of the country saving in excess of $300 million United States dollars from potential imports, and the channeling of the same to resource the health and other critical sectors. These innovations and other infrastructural development projects currently underway in the country's higher education institutions attest to the well thought out trajectory that the guest of honor is chartered for the people of Zimbabwe. Ladies and gentlemen, the guest of honor is a revolutionary and decorated statesman who has served at the realm of government in a number of ministries. Today, he ably serves his nation as the head of state and government and Commander-in-Chief of the Zimbabwe Defense Forces and Chancellor of all state universities. Please join me in humbly requesting the President of the Republic of Zimbabwe, the Commander-in-Chief of the Zimbabwe Defense Forces and Chancellor of State Universities, His Excellency Dr. Emmerson Dambudzo Mnangagwa, to address us. Your Excellency.
Pray, may you be seated. Our Director of Ceremonies, Professor Tagwira, the Vice President and Minister of Health and Child Care, Honorable General Retired Dr. C.D.G.N. Chiwenga, the Minister of Higher and Tertiary Education, Innovation, Science and Technology Development, Honorable Professor Murira, the Minister of Lands, Agriculture, Water, Climate, Fisheries and Rural Development, Honorable Dr. A.J. Masuka. And the honorable ministers who are present here, the board chairperson of the Regional Universities Forum, Professor Teresa Nkuo Akeji, the executive secretary of the Regional Universities Forum, Professor Adipala Ekwamu, vice chancellors, rectors, and presidents of universities who are present, partners of the Regional Universities Forum for Capacity Building in Agriculture who are here, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is my singular honor and privilege to officiate this opening ceremony of the 18th Regional Universities Forum for Capacity Building in Agriculture Annual General Meeting. The theme of your gathering is apt, given the importance of strengthening agricultural food systems on our continent and the critical role of the agricultural sector in the industrialization of our continent, Africa. Forums such as this one must thus serve to refocus partners and stakeholders to decisively deal with challenges faced by African universities in training and equipping graduates to drive the continent's agricultural transformation agenda across the continent. To this end, it is important that as delegates here gathered, you recommit to ensuring that research, science, and innovation are taken from the studios of laboratories and the lecture rooms to impact the daily lives of the ordinary people of our country. Scientific research must be harnessed and used as a tool for the transformation of lives, livelihoods, incomes, and ultimately our African economies in general. It is pleasing to note that the forum continues to thrive since its humble genesis, with the current membership of more than 150 universities from our continent, including 8 from Zimbabwe. Well done to the board of the Regional Universities Forum, partners and stakeholders, for the milestones so far recorded to date. Particularly, we appreciate the capacity building programs and the ongoing work by the forum to train academics in agriculture and biotechnology up to the master's and doctor of philosophy levels. Many Zimbabweans are among those benefiting from such programs. My dear delegates, sons of Africa, the realization of inclusive and sustainable economic growth for the people of our African continent lies in increased agricultural production and food systems. A larger percentage of our population on the continent resides in rural areas and earns a living through agriculture activities. Increasing production and productivity levels in this sector, therefore, remains critical for a higher quality of life and improved incomes among grassroots communities of our continent. It is further imperative that we leverage on our abundant arable land, the dams which we have, and the rivers to increase agricultural output. These dams are not for viewing or admiring. Of course, we may attract people from elsewhere to come and admire our rivers, but they're there for a purpose, for our people. As you convene, I urge you to be alive to the need to cumulatively work towards the realization of the aspirations set out in the Malawi Declaration on Accelerated Agricultural Growth and the African Union Agenda 2063. The forum is called upon to come up with implementable strategies for accelerated agricultural growth and food systems transformation for shared prosperity and improved livelihoods of our people. Even the Bible in Genesis gives us the mandate to feed ourselves, to improve ourselves and our lives through work. This, therefore, is pertinent as the agriculture sector is confronted with challenges such as climate change and land degradation, which have had a negative effect on agricultural production, productivity, and profitability. But God gave us the wisdom to face all these challenges. Stakeholders are exhorted to do more towards ensuring that we close the glaring gaps that exist between research and outcomes. For example, with regards to recommended yields per hectare and actual yields realized by farmers. Your work as academics and researchers must translate to higher impact research outcomes that impact the actual productivity levels within our agricultural sector. It remains a sorry situation where year in, year out, our parents continue to have the same production level from the same hectare. When they send their children, boys and girls, to school to study science, it's a shame. You have responsibility to research and support and a channel towards priority areas and the advancement of an agenda that promotes sustainable agriculture towards ending hunger and poverty on our continent. Resources should also be availed for training and development of extension services. Institutions of higher learning are also urged to develop agro-industrial parks as centers of excellency for agricultural value chains. For instance, Zimbabwe has now been independent for 42 years, but our university industrial parks are only 4 years old. For the last 38 years or so, we were asleep. Additionally, the development of cutting-edge, innovative solutions and products to climate-proof the agriculture sector, enhance agro-food systems, build resilience, and realize food self-sufficiency and nutrition must be some of the key preoccupations of this forum of African academics and intellectuals. We should not continue to be academics and intellectuals who continuously philosophize from sunrise to sunset. We must produce products which address the needs of our people. So, distinguished delegates, as we all undertake these strategic conversations we are making, let us remain alive to the unique social and economic and geographical realities of our respective jurisdictions and the continent as a whole. The bottom line remains Africa must feed itself. All hurdles that militate against this objective must be overcome, not by our parents, but by yourselves. You are our think tanks, our specialists, if you had forgotten. Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed delegates, to strengthen Africa's agriculture food systems post the COVID-19 era, I challenge you to inculcate in our graduates the requisite skills, competencies, and self-belief that supports Africa's emerging production systems and consumption patterns. Agriculture must be made an attractive and lucrative sector for our young people to undertake. During my time at school and university 90 years ago, we aspired to be clerks of Indian shops. We aspired to be clerks and teachers. And I took pride to speaking English. This should be the past. You must leave behind your legacy for having produced a service or a product, not the fluency of speaking English or French or Portuguese or Spanish. Our institutions of higher learning are called upon to be more responsive and relevant to the needs of our grassroots communities and the respective economies as a whole. Undeniably, a properly configured higher education sector is a powerful catalyst for the transformation of our economies towards knowledge-driven economic growth on our African continent. The onus is on us all, policymakers and the stakeholders, to encourage robust research and development, as well as the promotion of technologies in agriculture. The mindset that agriculture is for the backward should change. Agriculture is for the sophisticated. It is also imperative that we upscale production, productivity, and profitability levels while ensuring value addition of our primary products. Establishing robust marketing strategies and market linkages for agricultural value chain products. And this is critical going forward. Dear distinguished delegates, in the case of Zimbabwe, my government recognized that the restrictive old system of education, which entailed merely writing, reading, arithmetic, was inadequate for the transformation, the modernization, or industrialization, or even the growth of the economy, or even improving the standard of living. counting your chickens and counting your cattle and donkeys did not improve lives, but research does improve life. We thus made a conscious decision to transform our education system, as my minister has stated, Professor Murira, to one which is geared towards the production of goods and services using local resources. In this regard, the heritage-based education 5.0 philosophy was adopted. This is anchored on 5 pillars, including teaching, research, community service. Community service. The more you are educated, the more you should be inclined to serve the community. And of course, innovation and industrialization. Through this heritage-based transformative philosophy, we have built and strengthened our own internal capacities and capabilities. These have enhanced our country's resilience and adaptation to shocks such as climate change, illegal sanctions, and the COVID-19 pandemic. When the pandemic visited us, of course the entire world, us included, because we were on sanctions, we were constrained to access medical oxygen because the company that was supplying medical oxygen was a British one. And we and the British are not really in good books. So we say to our universities, we want you to produce medical oxygen. Now we are producing it in so much quantities that we don't know what to do with it. And the quality level is beyond that of the British. To date, innovation hubs and agro-industrial parks established at our state universities are benefiting from my government support and have seen our young, talented boys and girls developing innovations and inventions, as well as producing goods and services. We now have our state universities competing in how many patents does a university register in a year? Not only how many graduates they churn out, but how many patents. Equally, our industries and communities are being encouraged to access the innovation hubs and the industrial parks towards scaling up the nurturing of an innovation culture among our students. Science, technology, and innovation must always help improve agricultural production, productivity, and profitability. At the continental level, the African Union's vision for an integrated, prosperous, and peaceful Africa, driven by its own citizens and representing a dynamic force in the international arena, is equally instructive to us as the sons and daughters of motherland Africa. An African continent harnessing its potential, which is knowledge, skills, and technologies, must transform our respective economies and lift many out of poverty into prosperity. Prosperity should not be the preserve of those who found opportunity to cross the ocean. I therefore challenge this forum to make concerted efforts to attract more partners, entrepreneurs, and innovators for coordinated cross-sector and cross-border researches and projects. In this regard, partnership with academics, researchers, and other stakeholders in the diaspora should also be harnessed. We have a case of Pfizer. Yes, the Pfizer. I think we've heard about something called Pfizer. America. Is it in America? I think it's in America. Yeah, it's in America. The head of the Pfizer research unit is a Zimbabwean. I can't say what I think. I can only say what I think in Shona. In English, I can't. So I will omit my thoughts on that. As universities, we have the onus of developing greater capabilities around agriculture engineering. This should see our talented youth developing affordable implements and applications for use by small-scale and communal farmers. Drawing from our rich African traditional knowledge systems, linkages between agriculture and nutrition should be enhanced to improve the health and the well-being of our people. The agricultural value chain presents a plethora of opportunities, which this forum should fully explore. This must see an overall increase in agricultural exports from the continent to other parts of the world. The current status quo, where Africa is a net importer of food, is untenable and is shameful. Comrade delegates, I therefore urge you to develop clear roadmaps to reverse the worrisome trend. Collectively, let us restore African pride and dignity. Our forefathers were highly respected by their own communities. They lived in dignity in spite of what they put on. They had dignity. You may dress like a Hollywood star, but you have no dignity as an African because you have lost your culture. We, as the current crop of African leaders, we are committed to the establishment of the requisite education and agriculture ecosystem, infrastructure, and responsive policies to drive the ongoing food systems transformation agenda for our continent to save our people. On behalf of the people and government of Zimbabwe, and indeed on my own behalf, I express my profound gratitude to heads of state and government on the continent for supporting the Regional Universities Forum for capacity building in agriculture. Your collective perspectives shared at this forum must inspire the formulation and implementation of homegrown agriculture-led knowledge-based economic development initiatives in our respective jurisdictions. Together, let us strengthen our resolve to achieve the collective goal of the Africa we want. Let me tell you a secret. Not a single Japanese, not a single American, not a single Germany, not a single British, not a single Spanish or Portuguese or Russian ever dreams developing Africa. If they do so, they wake up and they say, what has gone wrong? And yet we have our people are demanding and aspiring to develop Europe. The development of Africa must be driven by us, Africa's citizens, from Cape to Cairo, through deepening our cooperation as well as exploiting our collaborative undertakings and regional synergies from the resources given by the Lord above without us asking for those resources. I congratulate the winners of the awards at this conference. We include innovative farmers, graduate students, and outstanding scientists, among others. Well done to you all. Finally, allow me to express my gratitude to the organizers and stakeholders for successfully hosting the 18th Annual General Meeting of the Regional Universities Forum for Capacity Building in Agriculture. This 2022 edition must mark the turning point towards an African continent full of solutions and capable of feeding itself, drawing from a dynamic higher education sector, which is relevant to the needs of humanity, but in particular, the needs of Africa. With these remarks, distinguished guests, it is now my singular honor and privilege to declare the Regional Universities Forum for Capacity Building in Agriculture Annual General Meeting officially opened and the Journey book launched. I wish you all fruitful and constructive scientific deliberations. God bless you all. God bless Africa.
Give His Excellency another round of applause. Thank you very much. When the Honorable Vice President was introducing His Excellency, he said he is a man on a mission. And that is very true. I'm sure you could see it. He is a man with a very clear vision of where he wants our higher education to go. And with your support, Your Excellency, we will get there and we will be able to end hunger. Allow me to just add to what also our minister said. We as universities in Zimbabwe have received unprecedented support from His Excellency. He has also laid a very clear science agenda for the nation, and therefore it is easy for us to follow because we can see where he wants us to go, and we are truly grateful for that. At this particular stage, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to invite the Vice-Chancellor of the University of Zimbabwe, Professor Paul Mapfumo, to come and do two things. Number one, he is going to present a special gift to our guest of honor. And after that, he will give us a vote of thanks. Professor Mapfumo, please.
Your Excellency, may I please request the Vice Chancellor of the University of Zimbabwe, Professor Dr. Paul Mapfumo, who is representing all the Vice Chancellors, to present to you the gift from RUFORUM and its member states.
Your Excellency, may you allow me to read in brief what we have coined on this small token of appreciation for you. Your Excellency, it says, yes, presented to the icon of African liberation and unity, His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Zimbabwe, Comrade Dr. Emmerson Dambudzo Mnangagwa, on the occasion of the 18th RUFORUM Annual General Meeting, 12 to 16 December 2022, Harare, Zimbabwe. Your Excellency. Director of Ceremonies, the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Higher and Tertiary Education, Innovation, Science and Technology Development, Professor Afano Tagwira. Allow me to recognize His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Zimbabwe, Commander-in-Chief of the Zimbabwe Defense Forces, and Chancellor of all state universities, Comrade Dr. Emmerson Dambudzo Mnangagwa, our guest of honor. The Honorable Vice President, of the Republic of Zimbabwe and Minister of Health and Child Care, General Retired Dr. CGDN Chiwenga, the Honorable Minister of Higher and Tertiary Education, Innovation, Science and Technology Development, Professor Dr. Amon Murgwira, the Minister of Lands, Agriculture, Fisheries, Water and Rural Development for Zimbabwe, Dr. Anxious Jongwe Masuka, and other ministers here present. Allow me, Your Excellency, to say all protocol observed. Your Excellency, it is my singular honor and pleasure to deliver this vote of thanks at this august gathering of the 18th Rue Forum Annual General Meeting, held under the theme Strengthening Africa's Agri-Food Systems in the Post-COVID Era, Opportunities and Challenges. Your Excellency, I want to acknowledge the 8 hosting universities in Zimbabwe and other universities that have supported the hosting of this important event. This event has been made possible by your government. You funded us to host this event. You also funded us. You also funded us to enable all the processes prior as we stand to host this event. Your Excellency, it is very difficult and unusual for you to come to an academic gathering and not go away with one definition given to you, even if you know the definition. This is all about fighting poverty and hunger. And I want to say, what is poverty? It is, Your Excellency, the state of being inferior or insufficient in amount or quantity. Alternatively, it is the failure to meet your basic needs. Therefore, as a person, as a people, as a country, it is not good to be poor. And this is what you stand for, to fight poverty. We thank you, Your Excellency. Your Excellency, we abundantly cherish not only your visionary leadership, but also the clarity of articulation of our new higher education philosophy, the heritage-based education 5.0, that has undoubtedly transformed our way of thinking, and now on a defined trajectory to change the lives of our people. Today we stand proud sharing with our African sister republics and partners under Rue Forum the many achievements we have attained in a very short development time in the Second Republic under your leadership, as well as the bright stars we see ahead of us as we implement our radical yet innovative and transformative educational architecture for the prosperity, empowerment, and advancement of our Zimbabwean and African people. We thank you, Your Excellency, for showing us that kind of leadership that has turned a leaf in our development trajectory, and that, with no doubt, will inspire us to take up science, technology, and innovation as a tool that can drive our economies in Africa to prosperity. The commitment already demonstrated by honorable ministers, vice-chancellors, rectors, presidents, and the scientists and scholars that we have in this august room need a special thank you. I thank you. Allow me, Your Excellency, to end by thanking the following. Our Vice President and Minister of Health and Child Care. You know, Your Excellency, it's not very usual. We have been in places, in countries, many geographical locations, to see the high level of commitment. I'm sure my colleague from FAO is here. I met him in Ghana, may not remember me. At some point, it is not very usual to get the head of state, his vice, the ministers, gathered for the same cause and showing the high level of passion and focus. I think it deserves a big one. Allow me to thank our Honorable Minister of Higher and Tertiary Education, Innovation, Science and Technology Development, who has been anchoring this event on behalf of government, and our permanent secretary in the same ministry, who has been running around with the organizing committee. At this point, allow me to thank the Rue Forum Organizing Committee, led by none other than the Executive Secretary, Professor Adipala Ekwam, for ably coordinating this process. Your Excellency, bringing 1,000 delegates from different countries together in one space for 1 week is not an easy task. I also want to thank the 8 universities in Zimbabwe and as a consortium and the local organizing committee led by Professor Charles Mutisi and Dr. Elijah Nyakujka. For leading us and enabling this event to happen. I also want to thank all the distinguished delegates who have really spared time to visit Zimbabwe and urge them to continue to enjoy and see places of interest in Zimbabwe, and also to even come back again at their spare time and be able to enjoy our hospitality. Senior government officials who have been supporting us strongly behind the scenes from across the ministries, departments, and entities that I will not mention by name in the interest of time, but we have received really overwhelming support from across the board, and I want to thank all of them sincerely and heartily. I also want to thank the respective governments of the people represented here for letting them attend this annual general meeting and supporting them in various ways. They show that they are friends to Zimbabwe, and I want to say thank you. Your Excellency, on that note, I want to say also to the media and all other people supporting behind the scenes, our ushers, our on-the-ground teams, we thank you. I thank you, Your Excellency.
Thank you very much, Professor Mapfumo. Hasn't this been a lovely early evening? It has, and all because of His Excellency, who has been able to spare time to come and be with us here for this very important official opening of what is turned out to be a very exciting, very, very exciting annual general meeting already taking place here. We thank you, Your Excellency. At this particular stage, our guest of honor, the Platform Party, and the honorable ministers who are here and the executives of Roof Forum who were in the briefing room will be leaving us for an official photograph and departure. The rest of us will remain here for some announcements. But let me say, before they leave, honorable ministers, you have been invited for a night of dancing and eating by the Honorable Minister of Higher and Tertiary Education. And I'm sure you have already received your invitation cards. Please don't miss this very special event which will be taking place at the Mikros Hotel. And after the official photograph, we want you to go straight for the dinner that has been prepared for you. At this particular stage, let us stand for the national anthem. Thank you very much. Let us remain standing as our guest of honor is leaving the room. Our honorable